especially when you look at the new technology and open source technology that's coming out from Clawbot to X402 and that specific standard. And I think when we get to a stage where AI agents are able to conduct payments compliantly and reliably on behalf of consumers, I think that's going to be a huge unlock. Hello everyone, I am Sam Elfarra. I am a community spokesperson for the TRON DAO. We're an autonomous organization dedicated to growing emerging technologies such as Web3, specifically the TRON network. TRON has been a tried and tested blockchain, and one of the biggest solutions that we offer are instant settlement, cost effectiveness when it comes to payments, transparency, and then programmable finance to allow people all across the globe to actually have access to proper financial architecture and infrastructure. I'm going to take this a step back and look at it from agentic commerce perspectives. Using AI agents to actually conduct payments, I think, is going to be a massive industry in a couple of years, especially when you look at the new technology and open source technology that's coming out from Clawbot to X402 and that specific standard. And I think when we get to a stage where AI agents are able to conduct payments compliantly and reliably on behalf of consumers, I think that's going to be a huge unlock. And then also from a B2B perspective, there's also a lot of value that AI agents can provide there. Yeah, I don't know about expensive mistakes. I like to think that we've been, I use the term a lot, but pretty reliable and efficient. We run a relatively lean organization. We have a great team. Obviously, our founder has been phenomenal in the direction that he's provided for us, as well as our leadership team in general. I maybe in cost, maybe we've done some sponsorships, maybe we shouldn't have sponsored, or we put a lot of money into side events. But when you're successful, when you're generating a lot of protocol revenue, when you're able to empower people across the globe, you have the appetite to make those quote-unquote mistakes. But I don't think we've done anything detrimental by any stretch of the imagination. We've been phenomenal so far, great team, and we're looking forward to doing more, and then of course also doing more events. Great question. I think real payment volume. I think tracking real payment volume is extremely expensive. So this is actual filtered stablecoin transactions that occur, not focusing on reshuffling of funds or anything that happens internally within treasuries or market making or quantitative investment approaches, but actual real filtered stablecoin transactions, because that way you can look at the real payment volume that actually occurs in that specific use case. Not saying that the previous things I mentioned aren't important. They have their use cases, but I also think it's great to take a step back and look at that, because then you can actually gain more mass adoption. You can get more confidence from businesses to be able to buy in to utilizing these types of products and infrastructures.
Perhaps give us some overview about the payment volume on TRON right now.
The filtered stablecoin transaction volume on TRON, this includes some of the stuff I mentioned earlier, but it's about $9 trillion. So we've settled $9 trillion of value on the TRON network. And there's lots of data and reports that are actually actively looking at the real payment volume amount of that. I read a report not too long ago that McKinsey put out looking at the actual real payment volume. And now how much of that is on TRON, I have to do a little bit more research on that. But the point is, TRON is at the forefront and center of payments that actually occurring on chain, and also broader payments that occur as well for those internal things that I mentioned earlier. So we're very excited about that. We're extremely excited to continue to grow that. I mean, a really tough question. You're gonna get me in trouble. But no, I don't think it's a matter of which comes first. You can do both at the same time. And I think it's up to the startup and their book of business and their attorneys to figure out the type of risk management approach that they want to take. With TRON specifically, we're one of, if not the only blockchain organization that's actively working with global law enforcement all around the world to reduce illicit activity that occurs on chain. We're working with Tether, the stablecoin issuer of USDT. We're working with TRM Labs, the forensics group. And altogether, we've created the T3 FCU, T3 Financial Crime Unit, looking to, again, reduce illicit activity that occurs on chain. So I think both can coexist appropriately and reliably. I think innovation sometimes will precede, but with that being said, compliance will come in an effective manner, legislation will come in an effective manner as very well needed. And again, I'm proud that TRON has been working with this initiative, T3 FCU, to ensure that we're combating illicit activity that occurs on chain, such as terrorism that might occur, like financing terrorism, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and a lot of other terrible things. So it's important that amazing innovation doesn't spur terrible things, and I'm that TRON has been mitigating that through our T3 FCU initiative. For who's new to the space, I've been in the space since 2016. I've been specifically at TRON for almost 4 years now. Before that, I had my own GameFi project, and then before that, I worked in private equity. I think for anybody, get involved with your local communities to get more activated in terms of finding those Web3 developers in the area. Build. It's okay as long as they're not permanent. Make sure to learn from them and do things in a compliant and reliable manner. And then specifically building on TRON, feel free to reach out to us on our Twitter at TRON DAO. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, or the TRON account on Twitter. That's honestly, I think, one of the best ways to get involved. Apply for grants, get involved, and again, just don't be afraid to fail.